waited all winter for this.
It's the biggest race we have all year long.
The icons of this sport have all starred on its biggest stage.
It's the great American race. Trust me.
I won the Daytona 500. I won the Daytona 500.
Pull them belts tight one last time, boys. Light the fire.
Big push coming now for Harvick. Oh, and around goes a couple cars. Priest upside down. He's barrel rolling through the grass.
You got plenty of money. Don't need that to keep racing. Is it worth the risk to keep on going?
Sure, to win.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael D. White, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron, the return of Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves an Austin Cindric type of weekend. He was the big winner in Gateway.
You're welcome, Austin Cindric.
You're welcome. We'll tell you why after, but make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. And I want to give a shout out to friend of the show, one of the OG listeners of the Bump Run podcast, Charlie Warner. Let us know if you ended up going to Gateway. I know this is in your neck of the woods. I believe it's your home track. So if you went, let us know what you thought of the race in person and all the pageantry and all that stuff. And if not, well, hope you check in anyways. But make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends about that podcast. And we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about because there's a looming elephant in the room of the NASCAR Cup Series right now. But first, fellas, how was your weekend? It's a hot one today. Yeah, we're all in warm rooms too, so this might have to be a quick one.
Got my fan going. I've got central AC, and I still need this fan because of how just hot it is.
I got a fan underneath my desk just blowing on the areas, you know.
That's like Kirk Herbstreit on the game day on the game day set for college football on ESPN. Like the early part of the season where it's still 1,000,000 degrees outside, he has like AC units that like blow up his like suit.
Yeah, that's genius.
At the game day level yet, but like a couple more good episodes, and I think we can get there.
You know what we need? We need to get some cool suits from the Cup Series. Eric, you went to HVAC school. Can you make us some cool suits with some plastic tubing and some fucking Freon and shit?
Yeah, I'll get some packs. I'll get some old R22 I have out back. We'll rig something up.
How awesome would it be if we did a live show at Pocono with like two people behind us? Instead of like 2,000,
like just Shrey and Kimmy in the back of us, yeah. Hey, why not? Might as well.
It'd be the most bump and run thing ever. Who cares?
It absolutely would. I mean, I could make this mobile. The problem is an internet connection in the infield.
The problem is all of us slurring and not making sense.
Well, that is the other issue.
It would be the worst podcast of all time.
It'd be like
it really would.
We're the one that puts us on the map. I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be one of those episodes where either it makes it on the internet or it never sees the light of day, and there's no in between, you know. But fellas, how was your weekend? How are you guys doing? How you holding up? Eric, welcome back. Don't know if you want to tell everyone how bad you were struggling last week.
I was my body was just like shut down for 2 full days. I guess like when you're in the moment, you got that perfect buzz on going, and I'm running around my yard. I didn't basically sit down for 2 days straight, setting up for the party. And then I'm playing Frisbee, I'm throwing bags, I'm running around, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. My body was absolutely just broken for 2 days. And then like on top of that, it's like you don't want to move. You're just tired, sleeping. Like I was, I will say that I felt it for the first time, like an actual genuine 2-day hangover. Yeah. Because I usually like one day I get it up, I get it out of me quick, and then I'm usually good. Oh my God. Like it was a rough one. I think the sun does it to you too, though. You know what I mean? Like when you're in the sun all day.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, that adds to it, I think. So, glad to be back. I missed it. Listen to the episode. It was hell of a job there, boys. But I screwed up big time because I was so out of it. I picked the 17 thinking we were at the road course. we were going to when I picked
Sonoma.
Busher for the show and I texted you the 17.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking Busher, Fords. I'm going there 17. So when it finally came around to race day, I'm like, oh shit, we're not there. I don't know if it was Xfinity being at Portland too. Maybe threw me off.
Everything,
But,
man, everything.
All in all, though, I'm glad to be back with you boys.
Well, the 17 got you some respectable points anyways, so it wasn't that detrimental to you. He finished 14th, so he got you like 23 points in the standings. So you're still in good shape. It could have been worse. Could have picked Josh Berry at the All-Star race like I did, and
Didn't even make it.
Didn't even make it. So what should we call it? And then Eric, I know I got to bring it up because me and Matt, we've been dabbling in the IPAs a lot lately, and someone left a case of IPAs in your fridge and you hit those on Saturday. How was that experience for you?
Oh yeah, the beer hugs. I forget what the brewing company is, but
It's Goose Island.
Goose Island. And I took one look at it. There was like a 7.3%. I think at one point a 9.9%er.
A 7.0, as you called it.
Yeah, 7.0. And I'll tell you what, like the first one tasted like absolute dishwater, just gross. Just like I'm like, what am I doing? Like I'm like, you know, you like take that sip and you look at the beer because you're like, what? You know, like you're contemplating, like looking at it's gonna make it taste better.
Yeah,
it's just
like,
like
is
I
this
don't know,
good?
but you do it right. You look at it, no, like by the second beer though, you're like, not that bad, you know. And then, but I'll tell you what, by that third one. There was no stopping me. Absolutely no stopping me.
Allow me to jump in here. Because like people who don't know us who might be listening to this are like, oh, these guys are IPA drinkers. No,
we're not.
Listen. That's why we're fucking Bud Light, Miller Light,
Coors
Light guys. Like we drink to get drunk. We don't drink for the taste. That's why we drink IPAs, though. It's genius because they're 7.3, 7.0ers, 6.5s, 9.5s. You drink 3 or 4 of them compared to 8 or 9 Miller Lights, and it's got the same effect, but you're putting less liquid into your bodies. It's for efficiency.
I think the effect is worse. The effect is quicker. It hits you stronger because it's all at once. Like
we drink IPAs because of the efficiency. The beat, like at Disneyland, you get like the fast pass to like skip the line and get to the. Well, that's what IPAs are. You skip everyone else and you get to the drunk before everyone else. It's awesome.
It's awesome until it's not awesome anymore.
It's awesome until the ride you're getting on falls off the rails.
I didn't have a bad hangover from it though.
No,
I was surprised. The guts, that part of it, which it was like when I was drinking Bud Heavies back in the day.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. So it was kind of like that. So, but I wasn't hungover, no headache, nothing like that. So
yeah, sign you up for the IPA train.
Oh, I think I'm out. Well, I'm gonna finish the rest of them. That are
yeah. And then Matt, you're doing a little home construction on the weekend. How'd that go,
buddy? I can't say I constructed a gazebo, right? Because that would be misleading. I assembled a gazebo, a 10 by 14 foot aluminum and steel gazebo, piece by piece, something that took, I think 11 or 12 total hours of my weekend, all day Saturday and another hour and a half or so all day Saturday and another hour or so on Sunday. In the scorching heat. You know, it's ironic because I needed shade to do this, but I was building this gazebo to provide the shade.
Get shade, yeah.
And it's just one of those deals where like I'm very impatient, and I had a lot of help. You know, I had a handful of people come over and help, which I'm thankful for. But like I'm also like, I don't want to say bossy. Maybe bossy is probably the right word, where it's just like, let's go. Like I want to work. I want to get this done. Like I told myself when I woke up Saturday morning, I'm not stopping until this is complete.
You're getting after it. Yeah.
I don't care if it's midnight. I'm going, right? But it was about 7:00 at night and like everyone's exhausted. I'm like, we have 95% of it done. I'll attack the last hour of it tomorrow type deal. But yeah, it's awesome. Just transforms the back patio into a little, a little oasis. Our homes are a little paradise, right? Mm-hmm. Life is hard. life can be really difficult.
Hard, yeah.
So having a little oasis here where you can just kind of escape reality for a little bit. That's what we want to do with our backyard. And so we're on our way there. And there's going to be a bazillion beers drank under that gazebo over the next few years, and a lot of races. I watched the race yesterday under that gazebo. You guys more than welcome to come up, watch racing, fighting, football, whatever. It's open door policy now.
Ooh, that time of the year, baby, gets me excited.
You just want to spend time outside,
Beers, baby.
Oh yeah. Well, speaking of the NASCAR weekend, first we got to jump into NASCAR news. Only a couple stories to talk about, but one major story, an elephant hanging out where I'm like, man, just get out of here. Let's see. Joseph Newgarden, of course, Indy driver, is interested in competing in the Indy 500 Coke 600 double. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about an Indy driver coming down to the Cup Series and attempting the double?
Hell yeah. Let's go. Hell yeah.
Why not? Bring it on.
I agree.
More than welcome. Yep.
I agree. Hopefully they can do something.
He's a driver too. So like they're under the same roof. I believe the Indy and NASCAR sides of things are under the same roof at Penske, I think, right?
I'm assuming, yeah, because it's Team Penske.
I see a lot
it's
of
all
things
one
with
deal.
Newgarden and Blaney and Logano. I think they're all kind of intertwined. So he's familiar with the NASCAR world. What's up?
He's had experience in a NASCAR before, right? He's been in some form of it, right? Or he has something to do with the Le Mans car or something.
He's an American.
I recognize that name as maybe hopping in.
Joseph Newgarden, yeah. I mean, he's an American. He's been on the Dale Jr. download. Like he's very familiar with our world, but I don't know. Maybe did he ever run an Xfinity Series race or truck race?
He was one of those like a Boris said, like, hey, come in and run my car. You know what I mean?
I'll check right now if you guys can filibuster for 40 seconds.
Or maybe he was always in talks, like you said. He was always around the NASCAR guys and friends with those guys. And maybe I'm just associating him with the sport because he's around it more often than the others.
He's done some IMSA racing. Let's see. I think he was in whatchamacallit.
But I would definitely welcome that. I mean, it's, like we get excited for one of our, drivers to go and attempt it and to go into another racer's world and try to like dethrone all of them being the outsider. So I'm certain that their fans in IndyCar would feel the same way. They would probably want to see one of theirs come into our world and dethrone our champion. So,
Racing Reference does not have him in any stock car.
No stock car. He's run IMSA races. In fact, he won the Daytona 24 this past year, and he actually ran.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of then. Yeah.
No, you know what it is? Last summer in the SRX series, he ran on Thursday night a couple times. Yeah. So he ran a couple SRX series races. So maybe he's dipping a little toes into some stock car racing. I would love to see it. I actually heard a caller on Dave Moody today where they were talking about how a lot of Cup Series drivers say it's easier to jump into an Indy car than the opposite way. So I think that would be interesting to see. And then speaking of the double, the elephant in the room, Kyle Larson attempted the double last week, and NASCAR still hasn't granted him a waiver. In further development this week, he has 0 playoff points listed in the point standings right now. So effectively, right now he is out of the championship hunt. And we didn't want to talk about it last week because we want to get Eric's input in it originally, and I think some of our opinions have changed over the week. But fellas, what do you guys think about just Kyle Larson so far not having the waiver granted at all?
I'll start, I guess, since I wasn't here. I think that they should grant him the waiver just because of the precedent they started already of granting him for everything else. So if you want to make a statement after the fact and say this is the last time we are going to grant this, I would accept that. But to make a show of this, to make it into what it is, it just screams bad PR for the sport when it could just be done like this by saying exactly what I just said. Here's your waiver. You're granted it. You did good. You got eyes over where we wanted. It worked out, as best it could. but moving forward, this is not going to be allowed. If you choose this, this, and this, you're good. They could set the precedent after they give him a waiver.
Yeah.
But if they're using him in a way to be like, nope, this is the time that we're going to say, like, look it, we gave a past champion, an actual already race winner locked into the playoffs. We're going to strip him and show you that we are serious about this. I would kind of be a little irritated about that if they make a show of this, because it just, you could, the same point could come across by handing out the waiver in my eyes.
Yeah.
This is such a layered conversation, and it's annoying that we have to have it to begin with. But after digesting it for a week now, and the fact that there still hasn't been a determination by NASCAR, I think says a lot. Been listening to a lot of the podcasts, like the NASCAR world, the world of NASCAR's podcast, whether it's the Dale Jr. Download, the Door Bumper Clear, the Teardown with Bianchi and Gluck. I've heard a lot of wavering opinions on both sides, and I see both sides no matter which way you fall on this. I do. I was originally under the thought process of, no, he chose Indy over NASCAR. He actively did that. He had an opportunity once the race was postponed up in Indianapolis to make his way down to Charlotte. He actively stayed there. He doesn't deserve a waiver. That was my original stance.
Yeah.
And after a week of chewing on it, I don't want to say I've completely gotten away from that, because there's a part of that I still believe in. But I've definitely softened my feelings on it, because, I mean, Jeff Gluck made a couple hell of a point, like great points today on the teardown, where he was saying, think about like think about like new fans, right? Where let's say they don't give him the waiver,
Yeah,
and new fans are welcome to the sport, and Kyle Larson goes on to win 4 or 5 more regular season points. He's the regular season champion, not eligible for the playoffs, not eligible for our championship. Try explaining that to the new Netflix fans. Try explaining that to the new our friends who start watching NASCAR. It would be a PR nightmare. It would be, and Gluck and Bianchi both agreed, and so I'm just kind of reiterating what they're saying is it would be a huge black eye for the sport for them to do this. This, in my mind, isn't the place for NASCAR to make a
stand
earth-shattering decision on, right? Like, this isn't the hill for NASCAR to die on.
Yeah.
Eric, agreed. Give him the waiver, but announce this is the last time. If you actively decide to miss a race because of X, Y, and Z, you will not be granted a waiver in the future. As a matter of fact, if you are suspended, if you're whatever, I think the only time you should be granted a waiver moving forward is if you are injured during a NASCAR event. Other than that, hey, you want to go snowboarding? Go ahead, but you know the risks. You want to do this? Like other sports, like there's dudes in the NFL, NBA that like can't go skydiving, that can't jump on a scooter and ride across town. Like there's like different things that you can't do as a paid athlete because it jeopardizes your career. There's things that I can't do in my career because it would put me in jeopardy of losing my job. There's every job has the pros and cons. Go live your life. If you want to go run the Indy 500, if you want to go snowboarding, if you want to go skydiving, if you want to go run a sprint car on a Wednesday night, go do that. But you know the consequences. And if anything takes you out of a NASCAR race, you're going to miss the playoffs moving forward after this. I think they need to be clear cut about that. But I think it's also very telling, and I know I'm long-winded here, so I apologize. I think it's very telling that NASCAR has waited a week now, and they still haven't made a determination. I think they're still going to give him the waiver. I really do, because I think they know what would blow back in their faces. But I think they're trying to make a silent point right now. And
that is a good point. Is this dog and pony show just to make a point? So
sure it is. So Bianchi, sorry to cut you off, but Bianchi said like people, he knows for a fact, people in the upper NASCAR front offices, he knows for a fact that like there's some of them that don't want to give him the waiver, and that there is ongoing negotiations within the NASCAR office, the people who make this decision right now, whether they should or shouldn't. So like, make no mistake about it. It sounds like
It's
there's
a house
real
divided.
possibility they do not give him the waiver. Like there's a real chance that they don't do that.
And I would go with they're not going to give it to him and shoot themselves in the foot because NASCAR always makes the wrong choice.
Yeah.
And look at the direction, like I said, all the momentum you have, it's all coming crashing down. Not to be negative, but it just seems like NASCAR is going to make the move that's probably not going to be the best one.
Yeah, you can't shoot yourself in the foot with they say Chase Elliott's the most popular driver, but take a look in those stands and Kyle Larson's definitely number 2. You know, there's a lot of 5 t-shirts in those stands. And
he's going to be number 1 if they rule against him on this.
Right. And to your point, I was in agreement heading into the Coke 600 weekend because we all knew that weather was going to play a factor. And I was like, we
were talking about this before
it even happened.
Talking about this before it even happened.
Yeah. Where I was in the camp, and part of me still believes in this, where it's like, yeah, I don't think he should get a waiver, you know, because he chose another sport over NASCAR, his job, you know,
and he had every opportunity to get back. That's where like my big holdup is.
But I understand there's a lot of money tied up in it. There's sponsor obligations, all of this stuff. And because I've been thinking about those things, I think that's the reason why you have to grant him a waiver. But then you put in a specific stipulation at the end where, kind of like Eric said, it's like, this is the last one, and either. So I have other thoughts about the waiver system just in general because
let's talk about it. It's a layered conversation, like I said.
I think waivers for injury are valid even if they happen off track, because you could slip and fall down your steps too, and you know, break your leg or whatever. You know, you're not doing anything extra risky. So I think injury, even outside NASCAR, you should still get a waiver if you could come back. And you know, because even if you get a waiver, you miss 6 races, it's still really hard to try to win your way into those playoffs. We look at Chase Elliott last year and did it.
So that's the other point that I was going to make is like, it's a penalty enough. He missed it. Larson already got penalized. He missed a race worth of points already.
And the biggest race worth of points too, with the extra stage and everything. Now at the same time, suspension, I'm on the fence too, because like that's something you chose, like you get suspended for cause, you know, you either put someone in danger on the track, like, you know, Bubba and Kyle Larson a couple years ago. Bubba got suspended at a race because he right hooked him, right?
Chase last year, you know, like we've seen on track discretions, even those though, where I'm like, yeah, that's where the slippery slope started with that kind of stuff, where it's like, yeah, you missed that race. Like, you got suspended. Should you run for the playoffs? You know, now we're in a completely different situation where it's like, all right, well, you just didn't show up to a race, you know, and yeah, you're running the double. Yeah, it's great for the sport and all this stuff, but like, you just didn't show up, you know. So this isn't the same as all the previous incidents.
It's not,
where waivers were granted,
and
it's also. This wouldn't be a big story if it was Todd Gilliland.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be this big of a story at all. But it's the most recognizable guy, the most talented guy, the guy who's probably the favorite to win the championship. It's about who this is too, you know.
But I've changed my opinion going into that weekend. I'm like, I don't think they should grant him a waiver, especially after he did it. He didn't show up to the start of the Coke 600, where I'm like, yeah, he probably shouldn't get it. But now, so they didn't file for the waiver until Thursday, so it hasn't been a full week. But typically, I saw someone post like the last waiver that was filed for the Truck Series was granted within the hour, you know? So now they're dragging it out. Now it's like, all right, well, now you're just making a show of it. And yes, because we're in uncharted territory where we've never been in this situation before, I think you have to grant the waiver this time. But then I think you have to come out and specifically say, this is the only time we're going to do it. So, and I know the argument is like, well, then no one's going to want to run the double. Now you have to have, like, now you at least say, like, if you're going to run the double, well, then all those contracts that you're signing, you have to work into it that the NASCAR race is the priority, and the sponsors have to agree that, like, yeah, maybe he won't run the Indy 500. You know, that's where my thought is, where it's like, yes, grant it now, get it over with. Let's just get on with the season. but put something in place where it's like it's not even a question or a doubt in the future. You know,
I already think this is the death of the double.
Yeah.
I think no matter what happens, I think guys are seeing this and they're like,
that's what I said too. I'm like, I just think it's going to prevent me. They're not going to take the risk in doing it. You know, why even try to do it then? You know, and that not giving him the waiver, not giving it to him as quick. And like, I know it's a different circumstance compared to the other ones, but they were all granted a waiver at some point for doing something stupid that they shouldn't have done, which caused them to miss a NASCAR race. So you just look at it in those broad terms, it's the same thing. He did something that caused him his choice to miss a NASCAR race. Give the guy the waiver.
Yeah.
And like, it just sucks that you took all the fun out of this weekend in a way.
It really did.
If you don't give him the waiver. Like, look at all we talked about. Look at the buzz. Like, and I think they didn't think about it at all, as far as like you're saying, Whitey, with the contracts and with the sponsor obligations and stuff, because it never happened. They probably thought like, oh, he's gonna make it. It's not gonna be an issue. And maybe they just overlooked it. And then like when it did happen, now they're like, oh shit, what do we do?
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit of they probably just didn't expect it to happen at all. And because of them handing out waivers the way they did in the past, they probably said, we'll figure it out. If it happens, it happens. Because look at, they gave all these other waivers out for this, and this. We should get one because of how big this is and how prestigious of a race that you're going to and the cross coverage of it all. We'll be fine. So they might have just, overlooked the whole situation on their part. And maybe they didn't do their due diligence on the weather.
Now here's the thing. So the Thursday before the Coke 600, Rick Hendrick acknowledged that there was weather in the forecast and it was a possibility. And he even
knew that it was going to rain in Indianapolis on that Sunday.
But I'm pretty sure he was quoted saying like, yeah, we think we're going to run the Indy 500. So you would have thought by then, like he would have known, or like some sort of like.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I think all the other waivers, though, is like, it's not going to matter. If he misses it, they're going to grant a waiver anyway. He already has a win. He's in like.
But how long?
Kyle Larson, you know what I mean? Like,
but
like
as
Matt
NASCAR,
said, it's not just a no-name that this is happening to. They knew this was going to be a shitstorm at a certain point because of who it is.
But now put yourself in NASCAR's position, right? Like they're on a lose-lose for this probably, But now they're looking at the winningest organization's team owner kind of going like, yeah, we're just going to do it and ask for forgiveness later, where it's like, does NASCAR let themselves get pushed around by Rick Hendrick because his team made a bad decision, like that they knew could impact their playoffs? Like, is that reason enough for NASCAR to not grant it?
I think NASCAR and the brass at the top are too interwoven to even have that. They needed it's too interconnected for anyone to have any kind of major pull. I think Hendrick needs them as much as they need Hendrick in there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I think they each have their own little bit of power that they could utilize. And I think you're right. There's probably a bit of I am Rick Hendrick. I think I'll get away with it. You know what I mean? And this almost goes in with the charter system things where it's who's got the power.
Yeah.
This also has a little bit of NASCAR shooting themselves in the foot, right? Because like they're fucking handing those waivers out like candy to any little thing. Where now they find themselves in a serious situation where, again, I see really good points on both sides, and no matter what NASCAR determines, I'm going to see why they did it. Like I see both sides. I hate fence sitting, but like there's a lot that goes into this. It's not just a simple waiver, no waiver. There's a ton of ramifications that come out of this.
Yeah, the whole rest of the season.
NASCAR painted themselves in this corner. It's not a Hendrick or a Larson thing. It's not an Indy 500 or Coke 600 thing. It's a NASCAR painting themselves into this corner by letting any little thing fly with this waiver thing. And now it's like, shit, we really didn't think about this all the way through.
And add a further layer into this. The reason why NASCAR painted themselves into this corner in the first place is from the last time a guy tried to run the double. Kurt Busch. He qualified the car, and that's all you needed to do was qualify the car to continue on in I guess it was the chase format back then. And now it's after he did that, And I think did Kurt miss the beginning of the Coke 600, or did he make it on time? Oh, no. Kurt made it on time. He missed the driver's meeting and was forced to start in the back. But then the next day they changed the rule to be, well, now you have to start all 36 Cup races. And so now they've added this layer, not stuck by it through injury and suspension, which injury I think you should grant it every time. Suspension, I think that is the ultimate punishment, you know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure, dude. I think missing points is the ultimate punishment, especially if you're somebody at the top of the sport like Kyle Larson is. It's just another example of NASCAR making it up as they go. They've been doing it forever. Yeah. And hey, guess what? Eric, do you have access to the NASCAR rulebook? Hey, Mike.
Nope.
Whitey, nope. Do you have access to the rulebook?
Nobody does.
I don't have access to the rulebook. You can ask any NASCAR fan around here. Nobody has access to the rulebook. It's the one fucking sport around that you don't have access to the rulebook of the sport that we follow. It's insane. You want to know why? Because they make it up as they go.
Unless you're a team or a journalist with a hard card, you don't get to see the rule book. And you're right. But that's the thing. They're the fucking sanctioning body and they get to do whatever they want. That goes back to just the way the France family's always operated too. You know, like Big Bill France, it's my way or the highway. My sport's bigger than your team is, you know? Now both NASCAR and Hendrick are fucking around and finding out in real time, and us as fans are waiting in the balance, waiting to see what happens. You know, it sucks. It
really
sucks.
is. It really is.
NASCAR has more to lose.
I think NASCAR does have more to lose.
Holding up a gun towards each other, saying who's going to pull the trigger first. Like, and then if I'm Rick Hendrick and Kyle Larson misses the playoff because he doesn't have the waiver, do I threaten NASCAR to pull my other 3 superstar drivers out of a couple races throughout hey, fine. But there's a lot of fans that aren't going to come through those gates because they come to see my drivers, you know? Then it's like
that's why I said this goes into the charter factor. This has the ramifications because of power again. And the charters, like, if with that folds, Matt, you're right. He could be like, oh, I'm not showing up this week here. Good luck selling tickets to that show.
But you want to know what though? You just reminded me of another reason why I don't think that Kyle Larson should get the waiver, and it's because to prevent things like, oh yeah, I won the Daytona 500. I'm gonna take the next couple weeks off. Gonna run some fucking modified races and stuff. Now the Indy 500 is not a modified race. But what then is stopping it? Like it's essentially kind of the same. He chose to run another series.
You get rid of you get rid of the win and you're in.
And you want to know what? I can guarantee that a large portion of the fan base is begging for that to get back to a true point system.
I like the playoffs and the shaking up and the craziness of it. Do I think it's fair? No. That's why I like that they crown a regular season champion, because that is an earned full season worth of I earned this championship. And they used to not crown that. And I remember bitching on here about that, being like, hey, like that guy needs to be crowned something before this craziness that you came up with and want to cause intentionally by you create the schedule for it. You know what you're doing.
Chaos and all that shit.
Right. So it's winning in. The 3 of us have been on that for a couple of years now. Like
get
the winning
that out of here. Go back to the normal points. Make points racing more.
Regular season is normal points. Go back to the Winston Cup for the regular season, and then you want to do the playoff gimmick or whatever it is. Like fine, but even then, like with the championship, like it can't be determined on one race. It's got to be a 3 or 4 race thing.
Average,
as far as a championship. Now I know we just got in the weeds. This isn't a
fix the playoff system chat. But this is one of the reasons why we're even having this conversation, is because of the way the playoff system works, and we all know how flawed it is. You know,
that's why I've said a couple times now, this is such a layered conversation that we can't not talk about it.
Yeah,
it's and it's really interesting. And who knows what's going to happen. You know, Eric, I think one of you two said it on Friday, like, let's get this out of the way before it's a distraction during the race weekend. And then here we are on the other side of the race weekend, and they still haven't made a determination yet. And I'm appreciative of it because it's given us a half hour of conversation here on a Monday. But it's going to be crazy to see what happens.
And it's 8:20 on a Monday. We have no answer, and we're 33 minutes into the podcast, and we haven't even talked about the race weekend, which just goes to show you how overshadowing this is of the actual product on track. But we'll see what happens this week. I'm assuming by the end of the week we'll have some sort of answer.
I would think
whether the fans like it or not, I don't know. We'll see what happens, and we'll talk about it next week maybe. But I have one last piece of news before we get into the race weekend, boys. Cup will return to Gateway in 2025, so congratulations to them. Another third-year sellout crowd, so the fans supporting it, and I thought we saw a great racing product on track. So let's jump into the race weekend. We saw a truck race at Gateway, an Xfinity race in Portland, and a Cup race at Gateway. Corey Heim with his 4th win of the season in the trucks. That one was weather delayed, so that one was actually going on at the same time as the Portland Xfinity race. I don't know what.
Was it really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
My Saturday was consumed out doing the gazebo. I missed all racing on. I missed qualifying practice. I missed all that. So I was actually pissed off myself because we're an SVG podcast here.
Yeah.
I was pissed off that I missed his first Xfinity win.
And then
Eric, go ahead.
It happened again, Matt.
Oh, no. Eric, look at me.
Yeah.
Eric, look at me.
Yeah.
No. No.
It happened again. Not good. I noticed it quick this time. It wasn't
just 23 laps. I made it 23 laps the first time.
Well, mainly it's just because it was going in and out. Like I had that channel on, and you know what I mean? How they'll cut to like here we're talking about this, and then they'll go back into the replay that they're showing. And I just had it on, and I was sitting there. I was doing things as well,
sure.
bopping around, you know. And I did end up sitting there for a little bit, and Dana goes, "Did you just do it again?" And I go, "Yeah, I did it again."
For the listener at home that might not know what you did.
I got caught watching a replay when I thought it was the live truck race that was going on.
You're watching.
Both Eric and I just did this 2 weeks ago or last weekend. Sitting there watching a race. If you missed the last couple episodes, I made it 23 laps into a Craftsman Truck Series race before realizing that up in the right-hand corner it says weather delayed on it. And then Eric did the same thing during the same exact race. I actually informed him that we were watching a rain-taped race, and I guess Eric did it again, which is awesome. You know,
I was in rough shape, dude.
It was a couple. It was, and here's in Eric's defense, it was a couple hours delay too, where they were just coming in and out every half hour on the radio, giving updates and stuff. So if you're out and about and you walk back into the garage, you see a truck race sign, you're like, oh, they got the truck race started. You know?
Can I just tell you? Can I just tell you that when I was in college, it was like a Thursday night party where I was at a party, an apartment party Thursday night, and on the Big Ten Network they had a Penn State game on from like the year or two previous.
Yeah.
And like, I knew that Penn State wasn't playing. Like everyone else at the party knew that wasn't really a game. Well, whoever was throwing the party must have just had Big Ten on, and this game came on. There was a guy there. I'll never forget this. There was a guy there who, like, you could tell he didn't watch a lick of football, but he wanted to make it seem like he was. So every time there was a captain, we gotta make a big stop.
It's like, why isn't anyone joining in?
Yeah, come on, boys. And like, I had to be the guy to inform him, like, yo, moron. That game's from like 2 years ago. And like, you could tell he was really dejected.
Yeah.
And so I deserved what happened to me a couple, because I was always like, that could never be me, right? Like I'm too in tune. Like that can never happen to me. And it happened to me. So
see, what they have to start doing is the replay can't be from the year prior, same racetrack. Put it in a completely different one. Put a night race on. Every day race that's delayed, put a night race on. Yeah. Something completely different, so you can't confuse people like you and I, Matt.
Well, it's a 2:30 in the afternoon. They have a night race replay on. Eric's like, what the hell?
Here's the thing.
Real dark in Homestead.
That happened a couple. I think it was 2 years ago. I want to say it was the Clash at the Coliseum got delayed or something like that. And they put on a Daytona 500 from the year before, and all the people on Twitter were tweeting about someone winning a Daytona 500. I'm like, Daytona 500 is next week. Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was really funny. And then, whatchamacallit, Corey Heim, he won his 4th Truck Series race in a rain-delayed Gateway race. And then, like we said, Shane Van Gisbergen winning in the Xfinity Series. But I have to say, we have to bring it back. Do you remember we used to do the bit, that's so Fox? It was so Fox for them to run a side-by-side commercial while SVG is burning it down in his victory lap. And
an awesome burnout.
It was an awesome burnout. At least they showed it in a little screen, but they had the commercials right next to it going. And I'm like, that's just so fucking Fox, man.
Just like last night's 10-minute post-race coverage.
Yeah.
15 minutes, I think it might have been.
I'll tell you what, though. Like, I still don't know. Pro SVG, awesome burnout, still kind of disrespectful.
Oh, yeah. Because there was cars behind them.
Right?
But at the same time, I loved it, though. Matt, because you didn't see it. Dude, SVG did the sickest burnout. He was drifting around the track.
How sick it was. I hadn't seen it.
And there's just fucking white smoke bellowing out. And there's like 4 or 5 cars right behind him on their cooldown lap, and they can't see
Ty Gibbs did that last year too, and I didn't like it. When Ty Gibbs did it last year, when he won on a road course in the Xfinity, he just did that and burn out in front of people, and I'm like, it's cool and all, but it's like, man, like, let everyone go by you.
Let the field go by.
I mean?
Yeah.
Win. He's excited.
Yeah. We'll give it to him. But
I don't think I gave it to Ty Gibbs. I don't think I gave it to Ty Gibbs last year, but I'm going to give it to SVG this year. Like, first race, he's excited.
Yeah.
First
100%, Matt. Yes. Ty Gibbs, no, he doesn't get it. He can't. No.
SVG he should know better.
Yeah.
He's
SVG just got to America.
For Christ's sakes. Yeah. He's a guest star country. Let's show him a little goddamn respect.
Your first win, too? That was his first Xfinity win. So, like, yeah, you're going to be pumped up.
What do they call, not delegates, but there's a term for ambassador. He's a New Zealand ambassador in our country, and we need to open our arms up to him. Right. And then, boys, can't believe this. Austin Cindric led 3 times for 53 laps. We saw 5 cautions for 32 laps, 16 lead changes among 10 different drivers. Austin Cindric, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Tyler Reddick, and Joey Logano, your top 5. Boys, let's jump into the race grade.
It's our NASCAR weekend race grade.
All right, boys, let's start with Eric this week since he missed last week. Just, I don't know.
I gave the race a B. It wasn't jaw-dropping. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't even enough to even really complain about in a way. It was a weird race, if I would have to say. Like it was a little odd. Yeah. It was a 1.25 mile racetrack that turned out to race more like a road course than it did even a short track. If you're, it was just this weird. It was a weird race because the top 10, 15 was constantly changing, but not necessarily from racing and battles and passing on the racetrack. It was due to strategy calls. And that's normally how road courses go. And, different teams know when the stage ends, so you could either split it in half, and some teams are going to do this, others are going to push it, break it down into 2 or 3. And I kind of had that feel for it, where you almost kind of could get lost in your phone or something else, because you knew the only exciting thing that was really going to happen was either if a caution came out, natural, or just a stage coming up, you might have seen, you got excited because, okay, this is the race here. Pit road, strategy call, who's coming, who's staying. And depending on if there was a natural caution or not, you got screwed as the leader.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because the guys behind you are going to do whatever you're not going to do, and vice versa.
It all started in that first stage too. Like there was that weird early caution, and it threw some guys off on a different strategy that just lasted the whole entire race.
So to me, like there were some good battles. Don't get me wrong, which is what still was allowed me to give it the B and why I didn't hate it, but. There wasn't anything that really grabbed me and kept me into the race, like super into the race. There were moments, and this isn't me complaining, but it just wasn't, it didn't just have me glued. And I don't really know how to say this. I'd rather my 36 race season be compiled of racetracks that are going to give me good racing battles on the racetrack. I know we have different types of races. Super speedway, short track, mile and a half, all that kind of stuff. You get races where they get drug out. You have guys dominate. One guy. You have tire wear issues at some crazy random things that happen. So we have a lot of different style races that could happen in our sport, which is good. You need that. But I want the bulk to not be strategy and that style of race. It's good to have that in there. It's nice change up here and there, but I want the bulk to be hard racing battles on the track in the driver's hands. And it just seems like this car has allowed more strategy style racing than actual battle, tire wear, driver racing. So that's kind of where this race kind of opened my eyes to be like, man, I think this car is this is the kind of racing this car is producing for us right now. And I don't hate it because we get into it, we know how to consume it, but it's just, I don't know, wasn't my best race.
Yeah. I could see that. And I see your point too, where you don't want too many strategy races, like we all enjoy a strategy race every now and then, that we like the Pocono, we like the road course strategies and stuff. I wonder too, like you mentioned it earlier this morning in our group chat, like stage lengths and stuff, like just switching it up to create some more variables. I know last year at road courses, they got rid of the stage breaks, just paid out points. But then we saw things kind of get strung out because there was really no natural cautions and stuff where that wasn't very entertaining either, So, what really happened? Just lack of yellows the last season. And I think I know why. Cody Ware wasn't in the field. And that's why we've had a lack of cautions the last season and a half, after he got suspended, and now he's back. And we saw two weird cautions early on that threw this whole entire race on its head and threw people on all this different varying strategy. I don't think we get this race if Cody Ware wasn't in the field yesterday. I think we'd be talking about a wildly different race and probably more like what we saw the last 2 years. So. I don't know. I don't know. That's my thought. You got anything else on that one?
No, it was an okay race. It was just, nothing spectacular. It wasn't bad. It was just one of those races where it's forgettable. You know what I mean? It was fine. It happened and you kind of move on. That's just how I felt. And, I wasn't hungover. I was in a good state of mind to consume a race. So there was no outside factors, which sometimes we all know that plays a part sometimes. And it was an okay race.
How about you, Matt? What are you thinking about the race?
NASCAR, I'm on to you. NASCAR tried, you know what happened? NASCAR tried pulling the wool over our eyes, and I'm on to them. I know what they tried doing this weekend. Eric, what used to be this weekend?
Pocono. Sorry, my bad.
No, that's okay. I should have asked you too, and it was up to anyone. Pocono used to be this weekend, right?
Because I was just thinking we got a strategy race that we normally get at Pocono.
You ever go to the grocery store and like instead of like Cocoa Crisps, it's like Koala Crisp?
Yeah.
Those sons of bitches, to quote Joey Logano, those stupid sons of bitches tried pulling the wool over our eyes. They tried making that Pocono yesterday. That was a Pocono race.
Yeah.
They did.
Yes, it was. but on a mile racetrack, though, which I think that is why I was so confused. It's weird seeing that strategy on such a small
instead of the tricky triangle, it was like the tricky archway from St. Louis. Or that was a Pocono race that broke out in St. Louis yesterday. It just looked weird because it was on a 1.25 mile track.
Did you ever see Toastum pop-ups instead of Pop-Tarts? Toastum pop-ups. You ever see those?
Oh yeah, like off-brand. Like you're trying to trick us, but like I know damn well that's a Pop-Tart.
Did you know?
I know damn well it's not a Pop-Tart. Is what I should have said.
Fun fact though, Toastum pop-ups came out before Kellogg's created the Pop-Tart.
That's a tough break on there.
Isn't it?
That's a tough break.
Or they're considered the shitty knockoff.
Yeah.
But they got outclassed, you know. I'm still on the fence if whether Gateway's a knockoff or just a little bit better than Pocono. And now as a Pennsylvania, can't say that, but you know.
But Eric's point. So my grade is a B. I never gave my grade. It's a B. I'm on the same page as Eric. Wasn't great. Wasn't bad. It was a race that happened. It was a little bit better than a race that happened, right? Because we got like that.
We got drama at the end.
We got the drama at the end that we're going to talk about. Also, earlier at the top of the show, I said, "You're welcome, Austin Cindric." The reason why I said that is because of the old Reilly jinx, baby. About a quarter of the way through that race, halfway through the race, we're talking through our group chat. And I'm like, Austin Cindric, man, like he hasn't won a race since his very first ever Daytona, not his first ever Cup race because he was sprinkled in the 33 Cup car a couple of times before that, but his first full-time race was the Daytona 500. He won that race, hasn't won since. And I was saying, like, the 2-car back when Brad was racing, back when Rusty Wallace was racing in it, back when Kurt Busch was racing in it, like, it was a perennial, like, always, at no matter what track it was, always in contention to win that race. And that just hasn't been the case with Austin Cindric. And so we were just I brought that up yesterday, and he wins the race we're watching. So you're welcome, Austin, for jinxing you in a good way there. But the passing happened through strategy. Again, like there's you expect that at a road course, you expect that at a Pocono, so that's the way you consume it. And then you had to alter kind of the way you were consuming yesterday. Like Eric said straight up, like, yeah, we're watching a road course race, or Whitey, whoever, one of you two said it yesterday. Like,
I did. I go, this is
road course race.
I go, this is the best road course race we've seen in the next gen era, you know?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, he's right. Like, that's exactly what we're watching. And it's like, I don't know, like I'd prefer to see some passing, you know, I love us. We always like, we love strategy races, right? Yeah. But when you get 20 strategy races in a year instead of 10, and it kind of ruins it for you. So it's like, yeah, it was a B. It was the ending was crazy. You know, at first you think at first you think Christopher Bell's going to win because he obviously had the dominant car. He was coming up on Blaney, and then he comes over. It was like the whole NASCAR world side at the same time. He comes over the radio, I'm blowing up. And all of us were like, no, losing our mind. Like, no. And then Blaney, with 1 lap left, speaking of Larson, speaking of Pocono, when Larson knocked the wall down at Pocono on the second to last lap, and Bowman ended up winning. It was a similar thing here, you know, out of nowhere, Blaney runs out of gas. No one was talking about it. I don't think they knew that was going to happen. And that was that. And then Cindric wins. And it's just like, holy shit, like what just actually happened there?
And to Eric's point, just about strategy races kind of taking over and how this car races, Phoenix kind of turned into a strategy race. We noticed that this past spring. Richmond, we noticed last year, has become a strategy race. I feel like Martinsville was a little bit this year too. There was some differing pit strategies and whatnot. It just seems like that's kind of the name of the game now.
Now, don't get me wrong. There's always strategy in every race.
Oh, absolutely,
yes.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, if you don't like, you're always going to try to do something different than the leaders and that kind of stuff. But it's just how you break it down and the car works for it. Like, you need to have tire fall off in order to not have a race like we had. You need to have other ramifications to go along with it. But when everyone's the same speed, that's what we're talking about with strategy races. When everyone's the same speed,
where the only way to pass is through strategy.
Yes, it's through pit road. And that's what we're talking about there. It's because, so I keep saying, I'm like, well, there's strategy in every race. Yes, but like when that's the way you have to pass, like Matt said, is on strategy and pit road.
I do think too, and I know we shit on Fox a lot, but Fox was rough yesterday, where I think they missed a lot of the action on track, where the broadcast booth would be talking about one thing and we didn't see it at all. Like we're not seeing it. And that's the thing, like they're calling action that we're just not seeing. And even I was watching like after some of those green flag stops where it's like, Cindric got out before him, but then you'd see like 2 laps later, like, oh, Blaney jumped Cindric, but we never saw it on the broadcast. So there was definitely probably some mid-pack battles that we didn't see, and that's why I hope Charlie Warner went again this year to give us his perspective. Because
NASCAR took a nice Sunday stroll down the block to the post office, walked in there and just mailed it in. Because you're right, it was. Again, like, hey, listen, we're one more race and then we're going to NBC. And I think actually, if you've listened to us for all 4 seasons, I think we've actually been light on the NASCAR Fox this year compared to other years. But man, they were fucking bad.
Mike Joy was yelling, oh my God, he just got hit. His pit crew member, he just got hit. Mike Joy was watching and commentating on a pit that was happening, but they weren't showing it on the TV.
At all.
I forgot all about that. Yeah.
But he's yelling about this guy getting hit. And then it took him I think they even went to commercial twice. And the race was going on before they went back to show what he was talking about. I'm like, you have to be kidding me. Like, they were bad.
At one point, Christopher Bell was going to pass for the lead. And they did a side-by-side of the same group of kids from 2 different camera angles. Like, why do you have 2 cameras on the same group of kids in the stand to begin with? Let alone, why are you putting both on the screen and there's no cars on track as Christopher
when there's
Bell,
a pass for the lead.
And Mike Joy is calling the pass for the lead. Like, what the fuck?
I think Harvick had enough of Clint Boyer, too. I think that's...
Yeah.
I don't know. They seem like they were irritated with each other yesterday.
He is relentless with the ball busting onto, because like think about when they were at SHR together. Like Harvick is the A driver, right? Yep. And Boyer was probably the C driver when they were racing together.
Yeah, it's a toss up between him and Almirola.
He was still driving, right? I think.
Yeah.
And he was probably like busting Clint's balls to no remorse, like back when they were sharing the same locker room, so to speak. And here they are in the booth together, and he's back to busting his balls again. Boyer had that booth. He was the driver, yada, yada, yada. And now here comes the Hall of Fame Harvick into it. And it's like, oh, I'm going to get picked on again. And he gets picked on again. Like Boyer gets brought down to earth a lot in that booth.
He is relentless, but I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it.
I am too. I'm here for it.
Whatchamacallit?
Boyer's gonna. I don't know if we touched on this maybe last week. Boyer's gonna run a truck race.
I couldn't remember if I put in the news last week or not, but he's gonna run a truck race this weekend or next weekend at Nashville. So if we missed it, that one. But I didn't get my race grade yet. I thought it was great. I gave it a B+. Like you said though, it was really easy to get distracted in the middle of some of these stages, but I think the varying strategies kept me interested enough where I was on my phone, but I was constantly checking who's on what strategy. Because if you go on the NASCAR app, it'll tell you like how much fuel each guy has, so you kind of get an idea of like when the last time they pitted. And if you open them up by name, it'll tell you last lap number they pitted. So I was really interested in that, and I was interested because I had Chase Elliott in my fantasy team, and I knew he was going to have to pit a second time for gas, and I didn't know if it was going to work out for him. And even Christopher Bell, he's always on a different strategy. He was on a different strategy from everybody, and it looked like it was going to work out because like his car lit up when he needed it to late in that run, where I was like, yes, this is going to be fucking awesome. And then of course all the mayhem we talked about with him, his engine kind of, shitting out on him. And then Blaney running out of gas.
Adam Stevens with that 20 car is always on a different, like if you like, I noticed it. I think I noticed it going into last year. Like that 20 car is always running its own race. It's like
I noticed it too because when Ratcliffe and Kenseth were in it, they just followed suit.
Yeah,
it'd be so frustrating. And then now I see what's going on at the 20 camp now, and I'm like, where was that? Where was that? Like you have to try something new, and that's why I commend them for doing that because look what we said. You have to do it one way or another, and if it's strategy, who's going to come up with the best one?
Yeah,
and it becomes a crew chief battle.
They had the best one. Christopher Bell was going to win that race.
Even Rudy Fugel's not afraid to do and get some crazy strategy going either with that 24 and William Byron. I feel like they run some weird shit too.
They really struggled though this past weekend, and let's bring it to the checkers and wreckers. Well,
3 wide for the lead. 1 lap to go.
It's this week's checkers and wreckers.
But since we start,
oh God, it's Shane McMahon. Oh my God, he's damn near broken in half.
Money talk.
Here comes the money.
It's the Bump and Run Gambling Preview.
we'll get to the gambling later on. Haven't thrown the money on the desk in a while though.
We haven't done our gambling segments in a long time either.
Yeah, we've just been giving our picks for the week. I haven't even done a gambling video all year on the weekend. We used to do those every weekend.
We're busy.
Too much stuff going on, man. Life in the way. But checkers and wreckers, Matt, let's start with you since we started with Eric, and I think Rudy Fugel might help get in. Or no, that was actually Eric's wreckers. Sorry, my bad.
You blew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wrecking HMS. They did not show up this week. They talking about mailing it in. I think they mailed one in here. And, I was listening to Moody on the way home, and he brought up a good point where it's like they didn't qualify a single car in the top 10, and only one finished in the top 10, and that was Larson in 10th, I think, or 9th at the back of the top 10.
Oh, yeah.
So
I didn't even realize Larson finished the race after fucking getting into Kyle Busch.
Yeah, so overall, man, each one of them had an issue. I think it was Bowman with the brakes. It was Chase with that toe link when he hit the wall in the back. So it was just a bad day for HMS. And it got me thinking because I was also going to wreck Ryan Blaney's pit crew.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get in the weeds with it. I'll save it because I think that'll send us down a bad path. My checkers, SVG winning that race was awesome. That Xfinity race, absolutely enjoyed that. The battle at Allgaier at the end, Creed in the 18, Sam Mayer in the 1. The 4 of them were going at it, beating and banging bumpers.
Yeah.
Hell of a drive by him, but. The guy jumping on the hood, the pit crew guy in the Xfinity race, when he dove on Jesse Love's car, no questions asked, full send, elbow drop, right onto the hood and just started smashing the hood in. Yeah,
That right there is the Xfinity Series, baby.
That is the Xfinity Series.
Awesome.
I tell you what, I can't wait for the Xfinity Series to go on CW next year and find a whole brand new audience. Actually, at the end of this year, it's going on. And
have our boy Rick Allen calling those races.
Oh,
hell yeah.
Find the whole new audience for people to experience the Xfinity Series on over the air.
Who are trying to tune in to find super reruns of Supernatural are going to find the Xfinity racing.
That's very true. Exactly.
Old episodes of Smallville. They're going to be watching. They're going to be watching Portland.
Or depending on the market, it might be a Phillies game. You never know.
Right.
What should we call it? Matt, how about your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
Yep. So my checkers, I do have a. I think I'm going to speak for all of us here when I say. My secondary checkers, not my official checkers, is stand-up guy Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Giving his teammate Christopher Bell help, pushing him to the end and keeping him in the top 10. I think, and of course, I'm a Truex guy, but take that away. It could be someone. That could have been Logano who did that, and I'd still be like, that's a freaking cool move, man. Like, you're riding around in 34th place. Your race is over. You're just trying to get to the end. Oh my God, my teammate needs help. Well, I guess I can make this fun for the last handful of laps here.
And he did make it fun too.
He helped it gave him a purpose in that race towards the end there. And I thought that was cool to see.
Bell said that he wouldn't have stayed in the top 10 without him doing it either. And he goes, I think after the interview, he's like, oh, I owe MTJ a dinner. He goes, I got to take him out for dinner. Yeah.
You know what? That is my checkers. That's my main checkers because that's freaking cool. I have a side checkers though. The Fox actually did something right, I thought, and I don't know if this is new. I mentioned it to you guys during the race. Don't know if it's new. It's the first time I noticed it, and I thought it was badass. The view during a pit stops from the top of the pit box. They showed it a couple different times where you realize how freaking chaotic a pit stop is, yet how organized it is at the same time. And just seeing that view from what a crew chief sees on top of that box, I thought Fox did a really, really good job. And I believe, Jesus God, I'm blanking on the pit reporter's name.
Regan Smith did an amazing job of kind of narrating it as they showed that shot a couple different times. And again, I don't know if Fox has done that before throughout the season. I haven't noticed it, but I definitely noticed it yesterday, and it was awesome. Yeah, I know. I missed it yesterday. I know they showed, was it the 9 team? Or no, is it the 5 team that Cliff Daniels
yes,
holds one of the tires?
They showed Larson yesterday.
I know they showed that once before in the past, so maybe they're like expanding on that, which I think is really cool. So that's really neat. And then how about
you see everything a little bit more like just the subtle like whip of the hose from the guy on the other side of the wall to get if that little whip of that hose, if he's off while the tire changer's running around, if that gets caught, you're done. You're done for. So like you're right.
If the hose doesn't clear the front clip, you're screwed.
And we saw someone get a hose stuck underneath their diffuser last year. I think it was like a big ordeal with the money stop too.
You know what else I noticed too, and I don't know if it's a rule change because again we don't know what the fucking rules are in NASCAR because they don't show us. But I noticed that this year they have the guns strapped to their waist. Have you noticed that? Go watch a pit stop from like yesterday or anytime. The gun itself, like the hose, is connected somehow to like their weight, like a belt on.
They have a loop in it to give them a little extra.
So even if they drop it, even if it slips out of their hands as they're running, the hose is still connected to them.
I want to say it's been like that for a while.
What's up?
I want to say it's been like that for a while too, and like they even some guys you'll see. They'll have an extra lug attached to their helmet just in case.
With the magnets and stuff, the wrench magnet on their helmet. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would guess it's been around a little bit longer than
it's connected to their belts and it's just enough slack, whatever the distance is, whatever the length is from their waist to the tire, that's all it is. And it's awesome. Like the orchestration of a pit stop, and it was better with 5 lugs, but it's just such a beautiful thing to watch.
And I bet since Fox is doing that whole tailgating or not, the whole highlighting the pit crews this year where they're doing those interviews, that's probably more. Maybe they're making a point to show more of the pit crew and different angles to really emphasize and show what they're doing. Because maybe the normal shot that they'll show you, you're not seeing what some of the other
side stuff. You know?
So. I could see Fox just being more of a highlight on the pit, which, hey, give me more of it. I love the pits.
And if they just did more stuff like that, we'd have a lot less to complain about on the Fox broadcast. How about your records, Matt? What's your records for the weekend?
Just mentioned it before. It was the incident Kyle Busch had with Larson, and the records goes towards Kyle Busch just for getting caught up in that mess, man. And then, kind of taking himself out. Like he kind of, like no one's really, I didn't see anyone talk about it, but like the way I saw it was he kind of took himself out when it looked like a retaliation for Larson or something, but like he was having a good points day, Busch was. Yeah. And then his day ended because of a moronic like rookie move when he's one of the veterans of the sport. And he was 14th in points. I believe he was 14th in points going into the race. Now he's 17th, which puts him out on the outside of the playoff cut line. And like, dude, you can't keep having races like that. Like your team as a whole, RCR, is underperforming, and you're running a decent race. You go and do a boneheaded move like that, and now you're screwed yourself and your team. And it's Kyle Busch. I love that we're seeing flashes in interviews of old Kyle Busch, because it's fucking hilarious. It really is, and I'm not knocking it. I love that. Keep that part of it, but like, he's got to have, and he's never been known for this, but like, he's got to have cooler heads prevail, because like, we're getting down to what, 12, 11 races left. We're halfway.
That's the thing. We're in the point of the season where like the playoff picture is
halfway
and stuff
through the regular season, right?
Yeah, we're 15 races in. So
we've got 11 races left. Like we're in crunch time for these teams from 17th through 20th. I want to say, like, those 3 or 4 spots. Like,
and you just had a guy.
Like, they're gonna look back. Like Kyle Busch is gonna look back if he misses the cutoff race and and doesn't make the playoffs. He's gonna look back at a race like yesterday and be like, "Why did I take myself out?"
And that's the thing too. You just had a guy who's outside the top 16 in points just win a race too, and that's
another thing.
You know, so that's one spot less that you can't point your way into. Austin Cindric sitting 18th in the regular season points.
Well, this might be a good spot to maybe fill in what I was going to say before, because we're talking about Kyle Busch and that team. RCR is not doing that great, right?
Yeah.
Chevy team, HMS, Chevy team. I was thinking about this. Ford, they've been on the rise, right?
Oh, yeah.
Toyota, they've been fast. The top 5, top 10 the last couple of weeks, it's been Toyota and Ford. And do you guys think, is that Chevy lacking, or is that Ford and Toyota found something and is leaving Hendrick behind to catch up to them? Like, you know what I'm trying to get at here? Like,
it could be both.
Be a combination of both. You don't know. We don't know.
Like,
that's the thing. We're not sure.
Because it's crazy to me, like, how it just got me thinking about momentum in the sport. Like, okay, you see what happened with Bell winning that race. Okay, it was rained out, yes, but he still won. That still gives the team a certain boost. No matter how you win, it's a win is a win. And then you see the way he runs after that, and you just see the speed, and you see how it transitions. You see with Ford, how, okay, from this, Logano found something at that tire test, and then the All-Star race, and then Blaney's running well, and then Keselowski wins, and Busch is running awesome, and we're talking about him the last couple weeks. And the momentum could change just like the way the race did, where are they really fast, or like sometimes, like we say, like, is there certain circumstances that are giving them the image that they're fast? You know what I mean? Because in all honesty, like Ford, yeah, they won that race, and Penske in the 2, but like Christopher Bell had the best car.
Yeah, he did.
So like, that's what I'm talking about, momentum, and like how big this is that he blew that engine, because now we go from him winning multiple races in the last few weeks, Toyota dominating and being fast as hell over the last couple weeks, to now we're talking still Ford is the top running team. Like, that's just NASCAR, man, and how wild it is from week to week with momentum and who's fast. Is the Chevys really the fastest? They came out hot here and there. Fords are fast now. Like, I don't know. Like, that's what I love about this part of the season, is just starting to see these swings of momentum versus, does the team find something? Is it a Ford thing that they found, or are we running into races where certain teams have tested? Like, I don't know. It just got me thinking about the whole thing, and Matt talking about RCR and Kyle slipping. It just, I don't know. It just jogged my mind.
I think with Ford not winning for weeks and weeks, it became a bigger storyline than it really was, because Ford's been showing speed all season. They have a bunch of poles, you know, they just didn't have the wins. Now, to your point about Chevy, though, if I'm a Chevy team, I would be concerned, because the only 4 Chevys in the top 10 are Hendrick Chevys. The next one is Ross Chastain in 11th, and then you have to go all the way from 11th down to 17th to get to Kyle Busch. That's the next Chevy in line. And then the rest of the Chevys kind of, I mean, you know, they're mostly mid-pack back marker teams anyways, you know. It could just be a numbers game at this point. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a combination of Chevy's lacking, Ford's starting to pick up. Toyota's have been strong all season, you know?
Right, but that's where my brain is at as far as when I'm as a fan watching the sport in a whole. You start to notice certain little patterns. If one little thing was different, would that pattern still be there? Would people's thought process of a driver or a team or even an organization be the same if one little thing didn't happen in a race? So that's why every week, man, it's a wild sport.
Oh yeah, I agree. Whatchamacallit, did we get through the checkers and records for both you guys?
I knew I was going to run us off. You did not give us yours, Whitey, right?
All right, I'm going to go with my records. Christopher Bell's engine, just because he got one of those old Kyle Busch 2022 JGR engines.
I giggled when I read that.
And then my checkers, we never talk about the winner on this podcast, really, but I have to give it to Austin Cindric, just because he really hasn't shown us a whole lot since his Daytona 500 win in his rookie season. His total career in the Cup Series, he has 8 top 5s and 17 top 10s. But he definitely deserved that win yesterday. He, had it handed to him because he was only the third best car, obviously. I mean, Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, the top 2. But I would give it to Austin Cindric on that one because he put together a fantastic weekend from the jump. Outside pole winner. He gained stage points in all 2 stages, and he was there in the end to capitalize on those people's just misfortunes. So I have to give it to Austin Cindric. We definitely knew the 2 team was here all weekend long. And like he said, he's been talking about that Freightliner paint scheme, how good it is. And they finally got in victory lane. So big congratulations to them.
And I agree, Whitey. I wanted to be like, oh my God, but I knew all day long he was running up front and had a fast car.
Yeah,
it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a fluke.
That was no fluke. Okay, yes. Would he probably have came home just top 5? Yeah, for sure. But like that's still really, really good for the
he
2.
Even said that in the post-race interview. He's like,
he knows it, but
he's like, I was getting ready to come in second, and with Penske 1-2 finish, and he's like, well, I don't know, I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, it's not like a weird rain out or like a humidity, scenario.
The first thing he said when Jamie Little stuck a microphone in his face was like, I hate it for whatever happened to the 12 team. He said, he's like, he didn't know until they got to victory lane even that Blaney ran out of gas. He had no idea. So the first, he knew, he didn't know, the situation.
I'll tell you what, Blaney, why are you so upset? Because the 20 was going to whoop your ass anyway.
Yeah.
So Blaney acted like, oh my God.
Last
man,
lap though, you run out of gas, man. That's
dude, you're coming in second no matter what. Like, I know it sucks. It still sucks, but you're like, he acted like he's never going to get in a car and have an opportunity to win again after that. And it wasn't even like he dominated all day. You know what I mean?
It does open up an opportunity, Eric, though, that you mentioned that for us to mention, if we're going to mention Martin Truex doing his cool thing. Brad, man.
Yeah.
You love to see that, dude, because they were teammates forever at Penske. And Brad is at that point in his career now where he looks at a lot of those guys as mentees or whatever you want to call them. And it was just really cool for him to go over there and put his arm around him and just say, dude, you'll get him next time. Who knows what he said, but that was cool to see.
Yeah. Blaney had a third place car all weekend long though. Third to qualify, third in both stages. It does suck to come in last on the lead lap though, because
24th or something.
Yeah, 24th. That reminded me though, speaking of good guys and interviews, got to give it to SVG too. During his post-race interview, first thing he did was apologize, I believe, to Sam Mayer for getting into him. He's like, oh, so I roughed him up a little hard on the restart there. He didn't deserve that. And that was the first thing he said out of the car. So class act for him. Class act to Brad Keselowski for sure. And just unfortunate for those guys, but got to give it to Austin Cindric on that one. And boys, besides that, really not a whole lot to talk about. I mean, there was some guys that led some laps. Like we said, Christopher Bell led 5 times for 80 laps. Ryan Blaney led twice for 20. Michael McDowell had a good run early on. He led once for 40 laps, but then once he got back in traffic. He had a hard time. He did work his way back up into the top 10 through some strategy, but I think he also had to stop for fuel at the end there.
Yeah, real quick, do you think at all, that Michael McDowell is like thinking to himself, like, why am I stepping out of this 34 car?
I forget what the exact quote was.
I think they're expanding. I think it's going to make the
opposite. You think they're expanding? They're going to lose.
It's going to go just like Colin, just like I think. That's why, like Whitey said with Legacy, don't take on a charter. Stay two. Don't. You're barely getting through race weekends now.
Yeah.
Why even put more pressure on yourself?
True.
So I think, like, okay, yeah, you have one car that's an A car right now, and that's because Michael McDowell is in it and he's performing really well in that car.
They have two cars.
Yeah, but
right,
but that's one A car. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, yeah.
One A car.
Okay. Yes, I misunderstood.
So, yeah, you have two there, but like, you really have the one. So now, unless you get this one to compete with the one, like the 6 and the 17 are right now, but what do we see out of that camp? We saw the 17 go out running 1 year before the 6 caught up. So we saw the 34 start producing, but we have yet to see any of that other car catch the performance of the 34. So I think taking on another charter and another car, that's just more resources that have to get spread out in my eyes. And maybe he's thinking, hey, I think it's going to, be slim pickings around the shop as far as funding and this and that. And hey, I don't know.
I was trying to find the quote really quick too, but he said something along the lines in an interview, I think it was with Pockrass this weekend, where he's like, something along the lines of like, Bob Jenkins, who's the team owner, will probably have it easier now that he's leaving. And so he's alluded to the past too, like he's kind of directing a lot of things in the shop where he's like, he's getting things the way he wants them done. McDowell is. And now he's kind of giving up control to go over to Spire. So I don't know if it's going to be easier for Bob in terms of just like maybe butting heads, and a lot of people took it as this way, as where he's about to get a good paid driver type situation where there might be more funding coming into the team to help the organization as a whole. And I don't know, it's a very interesting deal for him to leave to go to Spire, but apparently he was only getting 1 year deals too.
Haley when he went to Rick Ware, what I mean?
And that's true.
Absolutely. Some people know shit
Justin
that we
Haley
don't.
got another top 10 this weekend too.
Just gonna say Justin Haley.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another one.
So who knows?
That team, the turnaround of that team, insane. And then they bring Cody back, right?
Yeah. But at the same time too, and I don't want to get too into the weeds, but Bob Pockrass had a silly season article today that there's a lot of things moving in pieces and stuff. And it looks like Rick Ware might be looking to get a full-time driver in that car soon. And now we have 2 open cars at front row because they're looking for that third charter. There's a lot of moving pieces. Maybe we'll touch on it next weekend a little bit, but who knows, man? Who knows what rumors are swirling that we don't know about? Again, we don't have any. Matt, you got to text your truck spotter and trucker guy, see if he knows what the hell's going on with all that stuff. It's been a while. Just check in and be like, hey man, Pocono's coming up. Hope we can meet up. See how he's doing. And then
I'll dial it up. And
then, but yeah, other than the race, not a whole lot to talk about. Other than that, all the excitement kind of happened at the end. And then here on the Bum Run Podcast, everyone loves to talk about the winner won Austin Cindric on a Monday, and we actually did today. But we also have to talk about the guy who came in last place, and unfortunately, it was one Josh Berry. He had an accident end his day when it looked like he lost a brake rotor or it cut down a tire, something like that. And he hit the wall. We saw a lot of that happen last year at this this track. I know the teams were bringing different brake packages this year to compensate for that. Seems Barry probably got those old 2023 brakes, unfortunately. So that ended his day. And now we are headed to...
Marty, you've got to come back with me. Where?
The next NASCAR Cup race. It's the weekend preview.
And it's the California wine country. We're heading to Sonoma. Xfinity on track Saturday, 8 p.m. on FS1. That's a 5 o'clock start out on the West Coast for the Zip Buy Now, Pay Later 250. And then Cup on track Sunday, 3:30 on Fox for the Toyota/Save Mart 350. To go over our picks from last week, Eric, you picked Chris Buescher. I wonder who you're going to pick this week, considering you thought it was a road course then. He got you 23 points. Matt, you picked Joey Logano. He got you 39 points. And I picked Brad Keselowski. He got me 40 points. So I pick last, Matt picks second, and Eric, you get to pick first this week.
All right. I did want to go with the 17 last week, but I don't know. I think I wasted the pick, the good luck, whatever I had envisioned then. It's gone. I used that up. So I'm going to flip it on its head here. I'm going to go with the other manufacturer that's been doing really well and has been super fast, and that's the Toyota camp. Momentum. I'm going with the 20 of Christopher Bell. It seems like when the damage is done and he has his back against the wall and the luck starts to turn, that's when he comes to shine. So I'm going to go with the 20.
He's got a couple of road course wins under his belt. We'll see if he gets another. How about you, Matt? Who are you picking?
I'm going with the guy, Eric. I want to thank you because I'm going with, there's two things. There's momentum and consistency. And some people might say that they're 2 and 1, maybe, synonyms to a certain point, but momentum and consistency are key, right? So you've got the guy who's got momentum. I'm going with the guy who has consistency. I'm going with the guy who I haven't picked yet this year, believe it or not. I'm going with the guy that once I announced that I was jumping off his bandwagon, he started becoming super consistent. I'm going with the guy who was just a couple years removed from being our road course ace.
Yeah.
Go with Chase Elliott.
Man, you killed me.
I like it.
I
like it, man.
I had my eyes on Chase too. I actually had a similar speech going for him. I'm like, I was going to follow up. Like, no matter who you're picking, because I thought I had an idea. I'm like, I'm also going with a guy who's consistent. No one's really talking about him right now. It's Chase Elliott because he's been super, super consistent the last few weeks. I was
thinking Brad. Man, this is like his 5th top 3 in a row or something.
It is. And you want to know who I'm staying away from at a road course anymore, though, is one Brad Keselowski. Yeah. I don't know what the hell happened. He used to be a really good pick on road courses, and over the last couple of years in the next gen car, I guarantee he spins himself out at least once.
Oh, McDowell, he sucks here though at Sonoma, doesn't he?
Yeah,
no, I think he's decent here.
Let's see, man.
No, I think he's trash at Sonoma. I think out of all the road courses, like this is his absolute worst.
Is it? It could. Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's the
thing. Think because when I was looking in to pick last week to think about, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know either because I don't even want to be a homer this week because I don't think Tyler Reddick's really that great at Sonoma either. So I'm gonna go with
Clint Boyer.
Clint Boyer. Matt, you picked the guy who's 3rd in the standings right now. One Chase Elliott. I'm gonna go with a guy who also used to be kind of known as a road course ringer out of nowhere. He's currently sitting 4th in the standings. Not as consistent, he had a pretty bad finish this past week in Gateway, but I'm gonna put it in Martin Truex Jr.'s hands to see what he could do if he could get a win in a road course in the next gen car.
He loves Sonoma, doesn't he?
Pretty sure.
Sonoma and Watkins Glen.
Yeah,
Marty, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how that pick's gonna fare for me, to be honest with you, because the results haven't been there in the next gen era.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin will win.
Denny will win.
Denny, man. Denny loves this track too.
Him and Tony Stewart used to battle, have some great races here at Sonoma.
Or Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs might win. Tyler Reddick. Who knows? It's going to be a Toyota.
Oh, Ty Gibbs.
Ty Gibbs could be a good one. Man.
Yeah.
Chris Buescher. But my bet's made. We will see. We are 15 races into the 2024 season. We have 9 different winners: William Byron, Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, Brad Keselowski, and Austin Cindric. Can Chase Elliott get another win on a road course? Oh no, not another win. Can he get his? Has Chase Elliott won in the next gen in a road course yet?
Yeah.
Has
I think the road will.
Okay, all right. Will Chase Elliott win in Sonoma? Could Martin Truex Jr. get his first win at a road course in a next-gen car? Or will Christopher Bell rise to the top after that engine issue and get it done in wine country and drink those the sweet grape juice? And we'll find out Sunday, 3:30 on Fox for the Toyota/Save Mart 350. It's sponsored by Toyota. Christopher Bell or Tyler Reddick's definitely going to win. We will see, and we'll break it all down for you right here on the Bumper Run Podcast this Monday night. For Matt the Statman Reilly, for Eric Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night. The Bump and Run!
There it is.